Welcome to the Vox Pathfinder 15R channel, and today we have this 15-inch Magnavox relabeled Eminence speaker that I featured in two videos, one being a short. And this cone is trashed, right? So I figured this would be a perfect speaker to practice fixing, because if I screw this up, who cares? I mean, this is a great candidate for a recone anyway, so it's not like I'm losing anything. So what we're going to do is I'm going to start trying to mend these rips, starting closest to here, the center, the dust cap, and work all the way out, and finally fix the surround as best as I can, and see what happens. Probably not the best use for labor, but I mean, it sounded great. It just all torn up, and if I could actually get the tears all back together again, maybe don't even rebuild it. Who knows, right? I mean, if it don't rattle. So, first things first, discussing with other people, I think the best course of action is we're not going to use hot glue or silicone or to fix, the cracks from this point down here. We want the repairs to be light and rigid. So to that, we're going to use a good wood glue. We're going to dilute it. And then to help bridge the cracks, we're going to use this crepe paper. Very similar to people using toilet paper online, right? Except it's nice and thin, and it sort of has the color that I want, right? It's not going to interrupt as much as, say, toilet paper would. Or maybe, I don't know, maybe toilet paper is better. So let's see, I'll just start with, maybe getting some of this debris out of here. Okay. Again, if it don't work, we don't care. Squeeze some of this glue in there. And then as I want, I could just mix some water with the glue. Ah, yeah, already mixing up. Good stuff. Here's a bit of leaf. Who cares, right? So these are the first tears I want to repair. Whether it'll work, I don't know. So this tear is above, I believe, or below. Sometimes I'm going to use a magnifying glass to see if I can better understand how the tear works. And that one, I think, settles right on top. That looks like we'll repair with the paper on top, whereas this next one looks like it's from below. This is real thrilling, right? Okay, so I'm gonna get some this crepe paper going. Just get a piece like this, just for starters. I'll just tailor it more to the piece. So we'll just take a piece like so.
See how that works. Again, we're on that little area. Only need a little bit. Get a little toothpick to maneuver stuff around. This may be actually difficult because I have to press it in to get that to bond well, because it's sort of raised up. Okay, that looks good. So let's just, we can even shorten that a bit, right? I mean, the goal is to minimize the intrusion, right? So let's just pre-moisten this area. Okay, you know, just let that soak in a little bit. Get that paper good and ready to accept its demise as a repaired speaker cone. Good thing I thought these bristles are too stiff, but it's actually helping me. This has a little bit of force to it. Unfortunately, I'm only going to be able to do like one of these repairs per day because there's just so many cracks. Looks like I'm teasing it into place. And I'm gonna have to get the magnifying glass to see what I'm doing. Match that up. That looks pretty good. Again, you know, we're talking something that we expect to fail from the very beginning, okay? So, oops. You know what I'm saying? We're not going to be too uptight about this stuff. Alright, so I'm trying to get this little bit of crepey paper on top of the crack. Hopefully get doesn't want to cooperate. Let's see if we can maneuver this around. Of course, I just placed this thing here. So I'm just trying to form this. If I just broke the speaker then, I wouldn't care, right? This is gonna, you have to think of this is gonna be similar to when you patch drywall, you're gonna want like a mesh to expand over the crack. Right? And that's going to give the compound its rigidity. So, unfortunately, we're going to have to stop there and let this heal up a bit. But that's what we're going to do. We're just going to go and look over each crack, let that dry up, and get it all the way to the edge, and then perform a miracle hopefully once we get up to here. But we'll see. Thanks for tuning in. Okay, so about 40 minutes went by and it's dried pretty solid already because it's so dilute. So we're gonna put another piece on this crack, and I sort of formed it into the crack. And we're just going to get some water moisture going. Get this paper away from that. And this crack migrates all the way to that black area. So we're just gonna get that little soaking. Try to form it as we go. So it's kind of sometimes difficult to get this to prop up. Hopefully you can get it to sort of catch at some point. Maybe that will do it, who knows. Get a little diluted glue. I think maybe I'll put a little bigger a piece on. I think maybe something like so would work better. How does that fit? Yeah, I think if I trim it, maybe something like this. Maybe flatten a little bit here. Back up into place. Sort of get that in there. Nice and soaked. Keep on with the toothpick, making sure it like sort of hangs in place as it's drying. So that's how we're just gonna continue doing it. And then I guess the next crack I'm gonna attack will be this one right here, and just continue moving outward. Okay, here it is, nighttime. I'm at the dining room table and I'm on my third patch. I've done these two small ones. I've had to use like bubble wrap to like jam underneath there to get this to raise up. And along this crack, I've actually rolled up a towel, jammed it between the frame, and the cone so the two pieces would meet. Otherwise it was dipping down. And all I'm doing is, taking like some glue. I've already put like, water and diluted glue, and I'm just adding this glue to the mixture and just dabbing it, like so. As it's wet. That's all I'm really doing. And so we'll get wait till this dries in the morning, and then I'll bring this cone back outside in the sunlight and continue onwards. I would think perhaps I'm going to glue this crack next to that point, with our theory of working in the center and working back out to the surround. So hopefully this works out. As you can see, these two patches have pretty much cracked, cured. Maybe there's a little, whatchamacallit, lifting, who knows. Not much we can do. All right, we'll be back tomorrow morning. Okay, I was working a little bit last night, and I made this patch right here. And today, this tear just presented itself. It did up nicely, so I said, rather than continue working over here, I'll just take advantage of this fact and repair from this lowest ridge to the peak right here. So just want to take some diluted glue, and start dabbing the seam. Get that nice and pre-wetted. And then I'm just going to start laying on the strips. That'll go over the crack. And just as I go. Just trying to get the grooves matted down so it looks like it's part of the actual comb. So yeah, I'm just continuing along the lines, and we'll go on to the next part once I'm done this. Okay, so I got this piece glued in, and I want you to notice how I've got towels stuffed in there, propping up the cone. I have coins weighting down one side, anything for these two halves to meet exactly in place, so when I glue it down, the cone isn't all distorted and stuff. So that's the process. Just anything you can find, utensils, spoons, knives, bolts and nuts, coins, towels, anything to get the cone to conform to the exact shape before you start gluing up these crack joints. So there we go. Now I'm just letting that glue dry up. Let's see if we can See the underside, maybe you'll see that there's a line of glue piercing through that crack. If not, hold on, I can always illuminate. There we go. So you'll see that line of glue. That's the glue that's migrated through the crack and fusing both sides together.
Okay, so it's the next day, and I'm losing track of what I put on film and what I did. I'm pretty sure I talked about this last night, and then this edge married each other so nicely that I went ahead and just glued it before coming back outside. And I think I was telling you how I was propping up with towels. And today we have this joint right here. I wanted to do this before this, but since this was working out so nicely, I went ahead with it. And now I'm marrying here to here. Now the problem is that since I glued this kind of like stiffened up and curled up, so I'm gonna have to push this down later, but I need more of this cone to be rigid. And I'm probably gonna glue it from the back side and just stack bolts or something on top of it to go down. But for today, we're going to go from about here to there. And I got it pretty well married up. And I'll just show you to what extent I do to try to make these surfaces together. I'm sticking like bubble wrap to like push this bit out so these like actually touch at the same angle and similar pressure. Because just because you put two cracks together, they're not gonna they're gonna separate or they're gonna go above and below. I mean, nothing's polite to you in the real world, right? And this joint's about as good as I can get it. It's pretty damn good. So I'm just gonna go estimate what I need. That looks good. Let's see, how is that? Just make a cut like that. Funny, you make these cuts and you forget the second you made the cut it's supposed to be like. Of course, so I can't go further than like say right there. Yeah, that's good. So I got my glue. I'm just going to water some glue down. And again, you want to risk the temptation to touch your work because this stuff is hanging by a thread, literally. Okay. I don't know how else to put it than that. I don't want to go past this too much, so I want to make these repairs going along this edge and up here later. But every time I glue a crack together, she gets stronger and stronger. Right? And eventually we'll be able to put the music back on for this girl, and then we'll assess if it was all worth it. Let's see. Certainly think between the labor,
doing a recone versus this is much more intensive. It's not straightforward in the least. I mean, if you have a good factory, workshop, whatever, you can rebuild these things to a science, you know? Okay. So I'm just gonna wet this glue down. Try to pat it in place. That's the process. And then when we do this, we get all done with here. I'm gonna start building this back up, coming from this edge, going this way. I think by the time we get to this corner, I can, or maybe I'll have to finish everything, this crack included. I can push this guy back down and get that in place. But so far, I've been amazed with the results, considering how beat up this sucker was. Okay, I'm just going to continue doing that. You know, eventually I want to take off one of these dust caps off another speaker and replace the voice coil, and I want a little practice doing that, because again, we don't care so much about this speaker, although I'm getting a little more vested into my repairs on it. But I want a little practice. You know, one technique, you know, use a vacuum cleaner to see if we can suction that up. I've seen in videos, and I'd rather practice here. Another thing is I want to take this dust cap off, because I have another 15-inch where the voice coil wire burnt out in a spot, and I think I can resolder it back, but I have to access it. And yet another speaker, everything is absolutely perfect, but the voice coil is totally dead, and I want to see if I can access it and pull it out and put it in a new voice coil without changing anything, because everything else is just absolutely perfect. So this is our great experiment speaker, you know, where if the results are great, you know. If it's not, it's not, you know. We'll just go ahead and recone the sucker, you know. I mean, I'm on the fence about whether the original papers are as good, I mean, are better than anything you can get today, or if that's just a lot of hoopla, you know. I'm really on the fence about that. I have a tendency to think that, you know, with my suppliers, I can get really good paper and not be jealous of the antiquity. And it's just a matter of the manufacturers, you know, not getting the magnets right or something, but, or the frames, I don't know. But the speaker sounds so good. I mean, it really does. And you know, I have a rebuilt Jensen C12R, I think, it's a small magnet, and it sounds great, but I don't really think it sounds really all that vintage. But it's from 1963. The only thing different is the paper. So, you know, we'll see. Maybe these repairs will work. Maybe they won't. And certainly at one point, I think we'll probably go on the underside too. So we'll just stop it there.